Okay. This is my first live stream outside of the DevOps KC community anyway. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing with it because I don't see the video yet. But I'm going to continue because I think it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. Yes, there it is. Okay, great. So I'm going to be demoing Istio. So if you don't know what Istio is, this is probably going to be really confusing for you. So you may want to go and take a look at the Istio.io website. It's related to Kubernetes. And I've already pulled down the project. You can see it's Istio 0.7.1. And I have also, this is all running on Minikube. So I have the dashboard up here. And you can see that just the normal Kubernetes stuff is running. So I have also pulled in all of the images. So the reason I'm doing this now is because I was doing a demo a little over an hour ago, and it spent an incredible amount of time pulling down all of these images. So I went ahead and I pulled them down outside of the demo time, and this should go much faster, so we'll find out. So what we have to do first is actually install the Istio piece, which is in this file here. It fails the first time for some reason. Every single time you just run it again and it works. So if we want to, we can look into this file, and let me copy it. And it's fairly long. It has a lot of data in here, but you can see there's just a ton of information. It's got RBAC definitions in here, the custom resource definitions. So custom resource definitions came from the idea that was originally third-party resources, and that has been changed to custom resource definitions, which essentially extends the base API. And so normally you would use the Istio control command, but because of this we can use the Kubernetes control command actually. So all of mine will be K, which I've alias Kubernetes or kube control to K, and so all of our commands will be able to use that, which is pretty awesome, because then you just have one interface for everything you do with your Kubernetes cluster. So there we went ahead and we created these certs, and there's a webhook as well that will help create these certs. And we see we created a namespace, or we put it into this namespace, and there's the secret, and here's the service, the sidecar injector. So now we're going to put this config map for the sidecar injector. Oops. Do not grab all of it. Oh. So there's the config map. And now we need to get the CA bundle into Kubernetes, into this webhook piece. And that all looks successful. So now we're going to put the sidecar, or inject take the Istio sidecar injector and put the CA bundle in it. And it's there. And we're going to now look and make sure it's available. So it is. So the Istio sidecar injector is available. We're now going to check the namespaces. So what Istio has done is made it so that it's namespace specific whether or not it gets injection. So this Istio injection field should have, I believe it's true set. If nothing's set, then it's false. So anything started up in here will not get a sidecar injected, so Istio won't be installed by default. So let's go ahead and deploy this one and see that it is there. And now let's get the deployment. And it's not up yet. Let's see. Let's look at the pod. So it's creating. I think this is how you do it, but let me see. Nope. Logs, of course. Let's see. It's waiting to start. So it's still waiting to start. So it may be downloading. Let's go look. So there's sleep. Now I downloaded this one already, so I'm not sure why it would be taking so long, but that is possible. Let's see. So it is pulling the image. This thing is like 80 megabytes. I should actually I should submit something, a pull request, I guess, so that it pulls Alpine. Because we're pulling latest, which is 80 megabytes, which is massive, and it's not the newest. So it would be nice if latest was updated to point to Alpine, but it's not. So we get to wait for 80 megabytes to download, which is fun. It's exactly what happened in the last demo, and this is why I pulled it down already. So I don't know why it's pulling it again. Anyway. What we will see when we do this is, let's go back here and run this. And what we'll see is that this pod has a 1 and 1. It might be ready now. So it's one container of 1 containers is started. It is available now, so we're ready to go. And then so we see that's 1 of 1, and we're going to go ahead and update the label on the namespace so that Istio injection equals enabled. I was wrong earlier. It is enabled, not true or false. Now let's go back and get this one, and now we see it's enabled. So that's good. So now when we deploy something here, it will be updated. So let's go and look and see if it updated the pod. So it hasn't updated the pod. So it's still 1 of 1. So we need to actually take this pod, and actually we'll show it to you first, so that you can see exactly. So it went and pulled it and created it. And I could have done this earlier to see if it was still pulling the image. But you see that there's containers, there's only one, it's this image. And there is nothing else on here. There's no other containers. So we've proven that. So how about we go ahead and we delete it. Oh, because I copied it. Okay, delete PO. So here we go. Okay. So we've deleted the pod. Now let's get. Let's do get PO. And it's terminating this one. This is the old one. And this is the new one. It's now 2 of 2. So we now have 2 containers. So let's go ahead and describe this pod. Now we can see that it pulled another one. This actually pulled 2 proxy init and proxy. And all of this config is something that we uploaded earlier, so that it knew what type of template it needed to add to each one of these pods that gets created. So here we have the init container, so the init container is new, all of that's new. And then down here we have the Istio proxy, and all of that is new, and it continues on down here, and you even have your Zipkin information in there, and you have mutual TLS, which is a very useful feature of Istio. So now that we have that working, let's move on and let's go ahead and install Prometheus. So Prometheus, and this is installing Prometheus 2.0.0. And let me cat out this. So this is going to add this configuration to our system. So you can see there's a name, double request count. It's in the namespace Istio system. It's a kind metric. So this is part of that, I believe anyway, this is part of the custom resource definitions. Anyone can feel free to correct me on that. But that's why it's a special kind here, this metric, which isn't something that's native in Kubernetes. And we have some dimensions here. Let's see. Here's the configuration for a Prometheus handler. So you have this kind Prometheus that's also not part of the normal Kubernetes system. And you have this metric double request count, so this will actually show up in Prometheus. And you have the instance name, and then you have some label names. Here's the rule to send the metrics to Prometheus. And the instances double request count dot metric. And then we have log entries as well. And there's a standard IO handler. And then to the standard IO handler there. So we have all of this information, and this is a kind rule, which is also not a standard Kubernetes first class citizen. So we're going to go ahead and create all of these with this command. And let's go back and make sure everything is starting up the way we expect. So we have Prometheus, so everything's starting up, everything's looking good. Istio ingress, what's happening here? This is the service pod. That's weird. We're just going to ignore that and see what happens. Hopefully that's not a problem. So now we're going to come over here, we're going to port forward this to our localhost port 9090, which we will do here. So you can see it's the namespace, will not get off there. So namespace is istio-system. It's going to be port forward is the command. And then we're going to grab that information from this long chain, and the actual port from here, we're going to forward it from here to this other 9090. And then we're going to background it. Kind of background it. It annoyingly does that though. So let's do this. And now let's go to it, and you'll see that there's some logs appear. That's not it. It's right here. So there's no data points because nothing has actually been exercised yet. So let's run that a few times and make sure everything's good. Let's make sure that we've gotten some. Yep, there. So it's handling that connection. And let's now make sure that we run this command. Oh, there it is. I miscopied. Thought there was something missing. Is it automatically escaping something that it shouldn't? Those seem like they could be escaped. I don't see anything else. Not sure what the issue is there. So I may just continue on and ignore this. Or that might actually be a bigger problem. But we're going to continue on through. So we may come back to this when I finish setting up some other stuff. So we also need to set up Jaeger. Jaeger is a distributed tracing system. I believe it's from Uber. It's very similar to Zipkin and uses the open tracing standard. And that is there. And now we're going to create the port forward. So let's go make sure that it's actually up and running before we port forward. So it's still deploying. And it looks like it's deployed. The pods are still deploying. The Jaeger query service is still deploying. And for some reason Istio Ingress is as well. What are you going to do? Computers. Alright, everything looks like it's up except for Jaeger query. And I really don't know why it's not up and running. We may have to dig in on the command line. I'm not as familiar with the actual dashboard. So let's go ahead and port forward and see if it's up and running. Looks like that worked. And I believe that's this one. There will be an error there because there will be no trace for that one. So I don't know what this will do, but Jaeger query. Alright, so it's doing something. And it's got little dots. So there's not much going on yet, but we'll find some more info here shortly for it. Now let's add Grafana, and Grafana will have some native dashboards that Istio has provided. So this is the Istio provided Grafana instance. Let's clear that. Let's hit that. Also, you saw the logs from the Jaeger instance. So I've created the Grafana instance. Let me check this out. Make sure it's running. And it's there. Port 3000. Okay, so let's go ahead and port forward that as well. Let's see. Oh, it's not running yet. So let's look and see. Let's see. Okay, so it's creating, and we can do a k-n Istio system, and then describe So I really did pull that one down as well. I'm not sure why it's not registering that it was pulled down. It is possible that I didn't check well, and it may have failed. Alright, so it started now, and now we can go back and forward. Alright, so we're forwarding that, so let's go here. This should be it. Alright, so we don't have any data. Nothing's happening. And let's go ahead, let's clear this again. So we see our connections are coming through. And now we're going to do the book info series of exercises. And these are found on the Istio.io website. So So we're going to go ahead and deploy all of those. Hopefully they're not all pulling the new image down. That would be unfortunate. So we're going to do a get pods. Ah, look at that. Those all got pulled down. Excellent. And we're going to do get services. Those look fine. We're going to export the gateway URL because we're going to need this when we're testing it. This will allow us to hit the system. Let's go ahead and echo that out. So 64.6 and 31.87.4. Alright, so let's see. So that changed. And we should hit it. And it works. Error fetching product reviews. It's possible that hasn't started yet. Let's take a look. Computer's probably going to get a little slow. Okay, well, everything looks to be up and running. The services are up and running-ish. Let's refresh it. Oh, actually, I think it's supposed to be like that initially. So let's go ahead and run some traffic through this by doing this. Ah, right. Sorry, it automatically changes. I think it's that one. Yes, okay. Now let's go back and yeah, there we go. Now we're getting some work on this thing. And we'll de-scope that a little bit. So you see that's really working hard. These should start showing up information. Yeah, there we go. Oh man, success rate's not ideal there. I wonder if that was because it didn't have everything up, although it's still going down. That's interesting. When I tested this before, it didn't go down. I wonder if that's because I'm doing other things, other work on my computer right now. And then this, we'll refresh this. And if we go to product page, sure. Let's take a look. Now we got 2 errors. Product page, default route. Default route. So we're getting some errors from these proxies. And it's not going through like it should. That's interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and kill that. And let's move on to the next step. We're going to route all of these to our version 1 of our review service. So the review service will be the one that we kind of change out from underneath the rest of the system. So let's go back here, let's hit that, and we should get something here. There we go. So, and we hit it, and we'll only get the same one every time. There will be stars later on in the tutorial. And then we can go back here to Grafana and see what it's doing. It's at 72.9% success rate. And I'm going to go back over here and do this again. We're going to run it again and see how that success rate goes, actually. That's what I'd like to see. 75.9. Let's go down here and see if... Where is it? Oh, it's in the... No, it's here. So here we have the different versions, and we can see that only version 1 is getting hit right now of the review service. I believe that's what that is. Is that not right?
Please call the receptionist desk.
Sorry, our reception actually calls out over the intercom here. Unfortunate, I know. Ah, yeah, here it is. So this is the review service, and only service 1 is being hit, version 1. So let's go ahead and move to the next step, which we're going to route the reviews to version 2, I believe. Let's see. Control C, paste. Okay, now let's run it again. And let's see if anything changes. So our percentage went back up, which is good. It looks like the service was mostly reviews, probably because we weren't routing to any. That would probably cause some issues. So if we go back here, let's see. I don't know, it still seems to be routing to V1. Oh, you know what? I know what it is. I need to Control C that. I need to log in as Jason, I believe. So there it is. So I don't want to remember that. So now I'm logged in as Jason, and if I refresh this, I will continually get the version 2. So now I'm testing, and only people with the name Jason will get routed over to that, and so we see a spike on our version 2. So let's go ahead and go back to here. And let's go ahead and test the delay. And this will only be for Jason. So now we're going to intentionally fail. And this whole thing is going to fail right here. See, it's still going. We put in a 7-second delay, and the bookstore front end only allows for 6-second delay when communicating with the reviews service, and the review service had a 7-second delay on it, so there were 2 3-second retry rest periods, and so it eventually expired, and then that's what we got here. So we actually expired about 6 seconds, and we can go here and we can look and see our progress so far. We can look here and hone in on the, I think it would be the product page. Let's find out. That is not it. So let's go to, let's see what's in here. Okay. That's something. When is this from? Okay. So it looks to me like this is the failure that we were expecting. So you have 3 seconds and then 3 seconds and it failed. And this took 7 seconds and responded way after it was already done. And this shows the 7-second delay as well. So there's 2 7-second delays being triggered here. This is super cool. So I've never even seen this before. I've done this demo without this, and thought it would be really cool to stand up all of this stuff in advance, and I was right. It is super cool. Let's see. So we get all this information here. Man. Error true. Alright, cool. So these are all the proxy information giving this back, but that's pretty cool. So it shows exactly what we expected. How rare is that in computer science? I've only got a few more minutes left, so we're going to have to hurry this along. So now what we're going to do is we are going to delete this and create, we're going to delete the delay, and we're going to add in an abort. So we're going to simulate an abort, and it looks like that worked. Yes, okay. So when we go back here and we hit this, it will show up as rating service is currently unavailable. We can also go back here. Well, I probably shouldn't have done that. And we see that took a little nosedive there because it was failing from the previous one. And I'm having trouble moving this. So here's the ratings. There's some response time, and then you don't have anything for a while because it wasn't getting hit. And let's go to Jaeger, and let's go back, and I'm not sure if it will show up here because this is ratings, and maybe we want reviews. Not sure. Let's see. It's the same one from before, I think. Yeah. So let's see if something else will work. Alright, well I can't find it on here. If anybody knows where it is, that'd be great to know. Because I don't know where that failure would be. But that would be fun to have. So I don't know where to find that failure, and it may just be that it automatically aborts and doesn't get recorded properly. So what we'll do now is we will delete that rule. Let's see. Oh, right. And let's go ahead and sign out of JSON. And you see that it returns. Everything is normal now. That was only for JSON. All that stuff we did was only for JSON. Or anybody with the word JSON in their name. I think. I don't think it was limited to just JSON. Alright, so I went ahead and I created a rule where we will route 50% of the reviews to version 3. And I believe this is without the JSON identifier. I want to say JSON all the time. Gotta always remember to remove that. Alright, so we are moving through there. Let's go ahead and refresh this. There we go. Now we have some red ones. And let's keep refreshing, and it goes back to version 1 with nothing. And then there it is. There's red again. Nothing. Red. Nothing. Red. Should be. Occasionally it misses. There's some implementation thing with Envoy, which is the underlying proxy of Istio. So it looks like our success rate is still really good. All of these are 100%. No 400s or 500s. Request volume is fairly high for my little laptop to handle. And we have all these response times here, so this stuff is awesome. And if we go to ratings, find traces, we can see what it's doing here. Views default. Some of these are longer than others. That's interesting. Every time I go backwards, it is different. Wow, those are getting really long. Look at how long those are in comparison to what they were before. Alright, so I'm going to turn that off because I don't need this thing to die on me. So, I've got another couple of minutes maybe. But I only have one more thing left to do. So we are going to go ahead and route all reviews to version 3. Oh, right. I wanted to look at this too. So we have V3 and V1. So we've been sending both the traffic to both 50% of the time, and they seemingly are looking that way from here. And V2 has had none. V2 is just regular old stars, and so those aren't really as important as the red ones. So I need to do this. So I'm using replace instead of create because there's already a rule with the name, reviews default. And so we replaced that now, and now every one of these requests should go to V3. And we should just see red stars, red stars, red stars. So let's go ahead and do that again. And let's go to Grafana. And let's validate that in fact V3 is being hit there. We look at V2. It's updating, so I'm just going to give it a second. Now let's go ahead and hit V1. So we have nothing hitting here, so everything is getting routed to V3 now. That's pretty cool. But these are all running, and we could switch back with another rule change just like that. And you'd be able to do these canary deployments, which is pretty awesome. And if we do this, we can see that we've gone up quite a bit into the thousands of all of these different types of requests. And there's a bunch of other queries we can make, if I can find them. So request count. So let's go ahead and look at that. So here's the request count. Looks like that's the Istio ingress with the product page as the default. That's response code 500. And here's the 2. So total of 4 500 codes. I believe you can see it here. Oh, no, sorry. If you go to console, you can actually see the numbers here. So we have a 302, there's 3 of those, there's 4 500s, and there's 3005 200s. Cool. Let's go look at the total count of all requests to V3 of the reviews service. And we will be done in just a minute. So here's the requests. We can also go to the console and look at that there. We have 503s, 141 of those, 500, 3 of those, 404, there's 34 of those, and a 200, there's 1,648, all to the review service. So I'm guessing those 404s were when it wasn't fully started. That's my guess. I don't know. It seemed like we had some errors there at the beginning that we shouldn't have had. And let's go look at the rate of requests over the past 5 minutes. So that will return one value here, but we go to the graph where it's more useful, and we can see that you can probably be pretty certain of when I was running the little script. We have these plateaus, and then this is probably where I was clicking the actual URL in the browser. This is probably in the browser, but it's pretty consistent, this little stair step. And then this was probably me hitting the browser as well. So we can actually, oops. Oh yeah, sorry, it's actually going right now. So let's go ahead and hit that again. Let's execute. Yeah, so there it's going again. It may be having some issues because I'm consuming so many resources now. Okay, so I think that covers the main points of this. A little over half an hour, almost 40 minutes. But you get to walk through all of this. All of this is available at istio.io. I suggest installing Prometheus, Jaeger, because who doesn't like dots on a graph? I mean, that's really awesome. And Grafana before you get started. So the first time I did this, I didn't have these available, and I think it really illustrates, what is happening better than just what it tells you in the postings on istio.io. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, or it's been somewhat useful, and go check out these tools and go make yourself a bookstore app. Awesome. Thank you.